What is up, people? Today, I'm playing 7 days. I know it's relatively early, but fuck it, we ball. It's currently like 6:30 at the moment, so not really accustomed to waking up this early and streaming. But I said screw it since I haven't been streaming this week. I've been pretty busy. Hope everybody's having a decent Tuesday, at least. Hopefully a great Tuesday, but some days are like that, some days aren't. Playing 7 days again. Today I plan on making it through the seventh day. So yeah. Today just probably gonna have a pretty chill stream, nothing in particular. Just going to just play throughout the days. Hopefully I can make a base. Quick chat with everyone. And in regards to the title with answering life's biggest questions, I decided it'd be nice just to talk, give me something to talk about, and just kind of take a good perspective on questions that I have about life. Kind of give you guys my little insight, what's going on in this chrome dome that I have. Nothing too special, nothing too in particular. Just a chill, normal little thing. Hope it's normal. I'm a little bit insane, so need to go to that grippy sock vacation here and there. But yeah, right now we just loading in, and I am planning on setting up a build finally for my character. I want to try going for a boxing build. I just don't know how it's going to turn out. So yeah, hopefully everything works out. May die a few times, but it's whatever. Yeah. Okay. Just turn this down a little bit. Alright. So, last time, if I remember, we got a shitload of magazines. We did get a dew collector, so now we have water. You got a bike. All that good jazz. So yeah. Seems like this run is going pretty good at the moment. Let me just empty out a pretty decent bit of this storage. I do have the Molotovs, and I think I have grenades. So, yeah. I should be good. At least relatively for it all. And aloha to everyone that is watching on YouTube. If you guys want to get the full experience or check anything out, you guys can check my Twitch. And I am thirsty. But yeah, I've came up with the valuable conclusion, obviously while we wait for it to be morning, that life and the world are just really confusing. Oh. I got a first question. What's the difference between living and existing? Ooh. So, the way how I kind of see it, that's actually a pretty good question. So, keep in mind, I'm only 22. I haven't really experienced life or existence as a whole. I mean, I guess it's just more or less of how you see the situation. So, like, perfect example is existing is kind of just like, I feel like it's more or less of a mindset. So, say if you're, just getting by day, you'd kind of see it as existing. And then when it comes to you kind of like doing things that you like doing, like for me with streaming, me hanging out with friends and stuff like that, that would more or less be on the living aspect because you're doing something that you enjoy. However, for a more not perspective reasoning, it'd be more or less of like you're always existing. So you're more or less just in a state of like, hey yo, I'm here, I'm alive, so you're existing. You living is more or less of just how you see it, you know? Like if you wholeheartedly feel like you were put here for a reason, well, yeah. So existing is more or less of you just kind of being here. Like you're here by default. Whatever lives must die. But you living is more or less of, I wouldn't necessarily say a perspective, but more or less of just like, how do I explain it? More or less kind of just what you do with it. Because there's a lot of stuff to experience inside of your lifetime. Because technically living and existing coincide both ways, but it's more or less just based off of the perspective. They technically hold two different meanings if if you really think about it. Like for instance, I'm not a big fan of spiders. Spiders live and spiders exist. So they both kind of go side by side. But when it comes to the living and existing, it's more or less of up to personal preference and your perspective on it. Because you can, kind of just exist throughout your life, go by day, not doing anything important. But the things that you thrive to do, or the things that you want to do, are some of the things that, you kind of just live for. So, I feel like it's kind of something like that. More or less just of like how you would see the world. Not necessarily in like other people's eyes, not necessarily like throughout your parents' eyes or anything like that. It's more or less of just how you see it. If you feel like you're existing, then you're really just existing. If you feel like you're living your life to the fullest, then you're living your life to your fullest. It's kind of a simple concept, but kind of difficult. Most of the stuff is going to be simple, but yet really difficult to explain. But I want to at least attempt to. Talking about life and the concept of it is something that I really like doing throughout my free time. Plus, I feel like it would also help throughout days like these, where it's like nighttime and I haven't really gotten anything done, or I can't really just go out and do what I want to do. So yeah. I feel like, personally, that's kind of my difference between it. By all means, hit me. I'm ready and I'm prepared. Now, if it's like space stuff and all that extra jazz, that I really like to get into. I'm a huge nerd for stuff involving space. But, yeah. So, hit me with any question you want. By all means, I can try cracking the code, having people think different perspectives on it and all that. However, in regards to 7 days, what I'm planning on doing is making a horde base, or a little mini base so I can kind of stay alive. It's the first 7 days, so it shouldn't be that bad. It's just there's probably going to be a lot of zombies, hence the reason why I have my pipe bombs, Molotovs and stuff, so. But obviously with the questions that do get asked and I try providing answers, they're not facts. I'm not a psychologist or a philosopher or anything of the sort, but more or less of just, having different perspectives on the situation kind of tends to open eyes for other people and really makes them think. And since I think at least like 90% of the time, especially about stuff that doesn't matter like that, or things that are like out of my control, or things that are too big for me to control, it's kind of just something I like to think about. But yeah, okay. If you had the opportunity to get a message across on a large group of people, but you are limited to one sentence, what would your message be? Ooh, That's actually a really good in-depth personal question. Um, Limited to one sentence. Uh, don't let the past control who you are now. That's probably a really big one. Now, I'm not no motivational speaker or anything of the sort, but my life really isn't, sunshine and rainbows. Life wasn't kind of handed to me on a silver platter. But from my personal experience, I wouldn't say I had the best, but I wouldn't say I've had the worst. Life can always get better and life can always get worse. But more or less of don't let the things that happen in your life kind of stop you from doing what you want to do. Life is only limited. As I brought up earlier, with life comes death. That's just how it is. And that's the sad reality of it. Whenever you get brought into this world, or whenever something gets brought into this world, eventually it's not going to make it. And that comes with everything. It's not just people, animals, plants, the world, universe, solar system. Sooner or later, it's all just going to go kaput. So, you harboring on the past a lot tends to steer you away from, things that you want to do. And you shouldn't let stuff like that stop you from doing the things that you enjoy. Like for me with streaming, I've wanted to do it ever since I was little. And there's a lot of other things that I wanted to do. And a lot of people tend to have the misconception of, oh, it's hard, oh, it's tedious. Yeah, it's hard and it's tedious, but at the same time, or, oh, because of this happened a few years ago, I don't feel comfortable with this. That may be true and that may be the case, but it can't stop you from doing the things that you enjoy. Whether it be you getting into a relationship, you finding someone, you picking up a career, picking up a hobby that you've always wanted to pick up, trying stuff, trying new stuff. You shouldn't necessarily let that impact the way how you want to live your life. Because, yeah, there's a lot of things that are really impactful and that could affect your life, but you shouldn't let it be the reason why you should stop doing what you want to do. Like, as I was saying with my instance, I haven't had the best life, as no one does. Life isn't perfect for everyone. Eventually, everyone gets hit with that reality check. So you shouldn't necessarily have your past experiences or things that would normally stop other people stop you. Like with streaming, I don't like my voice. My voice is terrible. I didn't even want to have a webcam. I was not comfortable with how I looked. I look like I got hit by a car, but hey, we're here right now. So, and as a result, I'm doing something I enjoy, which is streaming. It's something that I wanted to try, and I'm trying it. It's not bad. It's actually relatively nice. It's something I personally enjoy to do. And not to mention, it's kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say therapeutic, but it's more or less kind of just, it's a good way to relieve stress to a degree. Because I'm basically just talking to myself. I'm not crazy to a degree, but I've noticed that kind of having a little insight for it and me attempting to try new stuff, especially because as I said, I'm 22. Life is getting there. I'm like, what, an eighth, a tenth of my life, depending on how I treat my life. So I shouldn't let my past experience stop me from becoming a streamer or stop me from doing things that I enjoy doing when there's a possibility of like, hey yo, I can do it. Who knows what will happen? And with that just comes time. Very good question though. I do fuck with that. And for yeah, that's kind of you know, my little piece of advice across a large group. You shouldn't let your past experience just stop you from what you want to do. Whether it be, by all means, your dreams can be like very far out. Like, say if you, perfect example, say if you want to be a doctor, but in high school and middle school, you did very poorly. By all means, there's still a chance that you can be a doctor. And most people would be like, oh, my GPA, or I'm not smart enough to really do this. That you shouldn't let that stop you from doing something that you want to do. The chances got lowered. Everything is basically low, but never zero. And that's everything with existence. Whether it be you falling down, you stubbing your toe, the world coming to a fucking end, sleep paralysis, something like that. So as a result, you should be able to work your way up even through the endeavors that you dealt with. Mm, another piece of advice that I would give, well, another sentence that I would give off across a large audience, even though, like, I'm not too big, I just started and everything, but from personal experience, in the nicest way possible, sometimes you need to know when to give up. Not necessarily in a sense of like you pursuing your dreams or anything like that, but more or less of there's no point in you trying to waste your life doing something when you've spent most of your life doing it, Whether it be in a bad relationship or you trying to pursue a goal or a hobby or something and you just realize it's not working. Determination is really nice. And as I brought up earlier, it kind of coexists with what I said earlier with the whole, you shouldn't let your life impact you. However, at the same time, say if I'm streaming it for what, like 10 years? Or say if I'm gonna be an artist, because that's something I like doing on the side. I love drawing. Let's say, like, if I'm devoting my life to become an artist, and for 10 years, I've been a freelance artist. Not a single person has hit me up. I have no job, none of that. Or I'm working a dead end job. It's good not to give up, but at the same time, maybe it's about that time that you should, you know, stop, take a break, or quit and, rethink. Because, in my personal opinion, and I was just talking about this with a friend a good while ago, the biggest fear I have, especially as an adult, is wasting time. Like, when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'm afraid of clowns, I'm afraid of mannequins, this is that and the third. Like, I still have my own personal fears, like, as I said, spiders. Like, I'm afraid of spiders, heights, all that. But, like, now that I'm older, I'd say a grown up fear that I have is wasting time. Trying to pursue something that I know takes a lot of effort, and me using that effort and time and still not going anywhere, and me wasting a certain amount of time on that is massive. It's terrifying. Because it's like, wow, I've spent a portion of my life doing this one thing that I really enjoy doing, and I don't feel satisfied with it. Like, obviously, you always want to go big or go home. Start off with little checkpoints, start off with little goals, tasks, and stuff, which is always a good way to insight. But say if one of those goals is taking you an exceptionally long time, like for me, say my goal is to hit 100 followers within, just 100 followers in general. Not a deadline, nothing of the sort. If I realize that it's taking way too long for me to do something like that, maybe it's about that time to just stop or pick up a new hobby or take a break. If I can't acknowledge what's going on, if I'm doing everything right, if I'm funny, if I'm entertaining, if people enjoy watching me, I'm promoting myself, and it's just not working, maybe streaming isn't for me. Maybe I need to pick up something else that would, impact me a little bit more. Which is one big thing for my career or something that I want to do. Because when I was younger, my family wanted me to do a few things. Like when I was younger, I loved drawing. My family wanted me to pursue something a lot bigger. But because of me getting slandered and all that, I still kept drawing off to the side, but I tried exploring more options. Because I knew the consequences of being an artist, being an animator, anything of the sort. So as a result, because of the low chance, I decided to kind of push myself away from it and try exploring new options. So in case I do pursue something like art, or say if I do pursue something like being an artist and I feel like I'm starting to waste my time, I have other options that I can kind of bounce back and forth. Keep in mind they're all things that I enjoy doing, but I always have something in the back pocket. When it comes to the opportunities of life, that's something I could talk about for a good minute. I have my own personal perspective on like life and just how it works. For my age, I really shouldn't, but like it is what it is. We all experience things a lot different. We all don't, you know, we're all not grafted from the same cloth, if that's how the slogan goes. Sewn with the same cloth, sewn with the same fabric, something. But yeah, that's an immensely good question, and I do fuck with that heavy. But yeah, kind of just having an insight on what's going on and kind of just having, how do I say it? Kind of keeping your ground and keeping your standard, keeping your bearings in check is also a pretty good one. Give yourself a reality check is a pretty big piece of advice as well. Having an ego and stuff is nice, but you shouldn't let having an ego be a very big thing, you know? Like you shouldn't get cocky to the point to where you start doing stupid stuff. Ignorance is a very big thing that a lot of people tend to have, and it just so happens that having ignorance like that just doesn't work. Small stone, plant fiber, and wood. Give me a quick second. I gotta get the stuff to craft a shovel. Do you know how a moat is filled with water? Think about how exactly the water might get in there. Elaborate when you say that. Like, are you asking how it gets in there, or like, is it kind of another analogy? Oh, wait, do you know how much water is filled with how most? Honestly, that I don't know. I just reread the question. It's still really early. I'm kind of illiterate at the moment. Bear with me. Um, hmm. For that, I don't know. I would honestly just think, since most castles are kind of just like near water or places with moats, they kind of just got buckets and said fuck it and just spent days filling the moat. A better question to counteract that though, back in the day when people had moats, there was no concrete. How exactly did they keep the water there, and how did it not get absorbed with the soil? Because I know they don't have like 10 people just regularly filling up the moats. I don't think that's how that works. See, you wanted something? See, more. You wanted something? Conspiracy, paradox, who knows? These are the questions that need to be answered. They could, but I mean that's just kind of a waste. Like I don't think a king is gonna be like, "Sir, just sir, I betrothed to you as the water filler or the moat filler." I feel like that's just a waste of people. That's just my personal opinion on it. I don't. Yeah, I don't think they. I don't know. That's something I'll probably have to look at later. All right. It is the next day. So what I am going to do is I'm going to start building my little thing. All right. sure I'm a pretty decent bit away. Oh, shit, what the fuck? Sports bag. It has vitamins. That's not bad. What would you say, in your opinion, is a great game that had a huge downfall? There's actually a few. I'm one of those people, and it's really weird. I'm one of those people that likes, I wouldn't say shitty games, but more or less of games that had potential and it fell off. Like, personally, one of my favorites is Darksiders. Darksiders is hands down one of my favorite games to play. Like, I enjoy the concept of it. I enjoy the concept of, you know, 7 Gates of Hell, you playing as one of the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, the list goes on. But there are a lot of games that have had either huge potential or just kind of flopped. One of the few games is Spellbreak. I really enjoyed the concept of Spellbreak. Like, great game. It was one of the first battle royales that didn't have the FPS-esque. Like, having a game that's, like, based off of, like, wizards and shit. You know? I'm pretty good at it. But, yeah, the concept of that was really good, and I really did enjoy every bit of it that I could. I wouldn't necessarily say it had a downfall, but I don't really hear a lot of people bringing it up, or a lot of people just don't know what it is. Sunset Overdrive. Now, by all means, if you have a computer, if you have an Xbox, anything of the sort, I would highly recommend. Like, without a shadow of a doubt, I would highly recommend playing it. I would highly recommend playing not 7 Days. Sunset Overdrive. And I forgot where I started digging. That's great. Oh, right here. Yeah, like, the concept of a zombie apocalypse-esque. Oh, if you want a better... Would you try My Hero... I have tried My Hero Battle Royale. It's not bad. It's more or less of like... It's a lot. It's a lot to kind of unpack when it comes to it. Because it's one of those things where you have to think about what character you're playing, what characters you're teamed up with, team cooperation, team cohesion, and then not to mention who you're going up against. I feel like I would enjoy playing My Hero. It's more or less of, say if they made it so that it wasn't as like fast-paced, I guess that'd be a good way to explain it. Yeah, like say if it wasn't as like fast-paced or fast-developing, then it would be a pretty good game. Like a game that possibly would have had like what is it called? Pokemon Unite. If Pokemon Unite was a Battle Royale-esque, like it had limited characters, you know, it had a very in-depth character guide, it had super, you know, just had the standard concept of how a Dota is, because Pokemon Unite's supposed to be a Dota, which isn't bad. Just, say if it were in a Battle Royale aspect, where if you could, like, play characters, or play Pokemon, and kind of just fight to the death, make it so that every character is kind of like, you know, relatively balanced in their own way, which I've noticed is kind of a very big thing in games now, where balancing becomes kind of a pretty big issue. Then games like that would be good, because it started off very small, you know, a handful of characters, a handful of Pokemon. But then over time, it slowly became the game that it is now. Where, oh, yeah, there's this many characters, we're starting to branch out, start having a load of variety. Because I think when the game first came out, when I started playing it, there wasn't like any super effective moves, anything like that. You just had your standard Pokemon, your standard abilities. You get to choose your abilities, and then to follow up with that, you what's it called? You had your specials, like stuff like that. Say if it was a game kind of like that, like a Pokemon Battle Royale, then my hero could kind of pick up the slack a little bit with that. Because like now, I've noticed when I do see, what's it called? Like when I do see people play my hero. Like I know it's still a popular game at the moment, but when I first started playing, I was hit with so much information. Like it was insane. Like the amount of info dump was just way too much for me. I couldn't understand or fully dive into the concept of you're playing a hero. Your hero has set abilities. You level up your character, you level up the abilities as you go, you pick up playing cards, you have your specials, you have your ult, you have items that you can pick up and all that. It was just a very huge overload dump that was very poorly executed in my opinion. It's just my personal opinion. I know people really love and enjoy the game, and by all means I'm not going to slander. We don't game shame here. But it's just something that's not really my forte. Would I love to give it a shot again? Possibly in the future, yes. However, I need to kind of be inclined to play it again. Plus, I'm kind of not a big fan of Battle Royales anymore. Like, after Spellbreak, I kind of fell off on the Battle Royale scape of it. Because, like, I played Battle Royales back in my day. More or less of just, like, Fortnite, Spellbreak. There was a few more that I used to play that were really, like, fun. It was, like, the fresh new niche of it. But now, like, a lot of game companies are starting to instill they're trying to kind of instill the concept of, like, BRs being, like, some of the best games ever, and this, that, and the third. And I mean, there's valid information to kind of back it up. Like, for instance, Fortnite. Fortnite's been infamous, you know? It's not like a game that fell off and came back. No. It's pretty up there, if I do say so. It's one of those games that's like, yeah, we're here, we're doing it, we're making it. And most of the time, that's how that works. And obviously, I'm not going to be the person to slander Fortnite, but I've just kind of noticed, like now, you know, there's only so much you could do with VR. Like, I enjoy Battle Royales. It's more or less of there's just so much. There's so much possibilities that you can do with it. There's so much of this, there's so much of that. And you just don't really get the chance to do something like that. When I've noticed in a lot of games... Okay, that fell. And I've noticed in a lot of games in particular that try to kind of implement the success of Fortnite, where it just doesn't work. Now, say if there is a game that's like Fortnite that actually does pop off, then by all means, props to you. I'm not going to slander you for it. I just think there's a kind of a better alternative, if you may. Or there's kind of just like an easier way to make a game successful without implementing like battle passes, first-person shooters, first to 100. Because I've played a decent bit, so I have some knowledge, but just in my personal opinion, it's not really as good as it was. I heard that Spellbreak is coming back, so I'm kind of excited for that. I'm hoping it does. Do you feel that Battle Royales are a good genre now after the years? I feel like at the start it was a phenomenal. But now it's kind of became the personal niche. So as a result, I've kind of pushed the ideology of VRs being goated. So like, what's it called? Yeah, so like when Fortnite, Apex, and all that came out, it was phenomenal time. You know, it was a new genre, nobody understood what was going on, no one understood the concept, people were down, people were happy, and people were just, you know, ready. And by all means, I can't even lie when I say it was a good time. Having a new game for people to kind of understand how games are, and like, you know, a new genre coming in, people were really hyped. Plus, not to mention, it was one of those games where you can face off against other people online and test your skills instead of like relying on a team if you're playing solos or anything like that. But now my issue is more or less of it's becoming more of a like it's becoming a situation where since BRs are becoming really popular, where people are saying, you know, forget this previous idea, we need to follow up with some battle royale concept, which isn't the case. Like, we need to have a battle pass, we need to make it so that it's free to play, so people can play. Yeah, it's nice for the community, but at the same time, some games don't deserve to necessarily have their, you know, game kind of stripped. It's not fair to them, and it's not fair to anybody, really. Especially when you're under the impression of like, hey, I've played this game for a while, I've played this game for a minute, this is like one of my favorite games. Or you being like, oh, this is so cool, I love having this little feature in this game, and then you realize there's a paywall, or you realize, oh, I have to play, I gotta get this battle pass, I gotta play it, I gotta see how it goes, I gotta push through it. Like, in my personal opinion, that's one of, like, my biggest letdowns. Some games do it right, but, there's other games that are kind of just like, no. And they just do it immensely poorly to the point to where it's just not even really a good game anymore. And I feel like, what's it called? Those games like that kind of just ruin the niche for other gaming companies that see like a lot of potential in the stuff that they do. So, yeah. Like, if I feel like, oh yeah, this game has potential, this game is doing good, then I probably will give it a try. But I'm just not really a big fan of the BR scheme anymore for it. Come on. God damn it, I can't place this. Let's see. But yeah. Yeah, I'm hoping I didn't, you know, kind of piss anyone off with my personal opinion on it. It's just more or less of, it'd be nice if there were some games that kind of like, if there was some games that kind of didn't take the aspect of it, which there are, don't get me wrong. It's more or less of, I feel like it'd be a lot better if, you know, people just try staying with their niche. Like, say if there's a company that does real, like Elden Ring. Elden Ring has no battle pass, no unlockables that need to be purchased or anything like that. And as a result, it's a phenomenal game. Will it beat Fortnite and all that? Probably not. But hey, I feel like it's not bad. Does it have potential of, you know, possibly winning game? Well, I don't think it will win Game of the Year again. I don't think that's how Game of the Years work. But like, just something like that. I am thirsty again. I'm 22-2. Nice. I didn't realize you were playing. But yeah, that's just kind of like my little insight on the situation. I genuinely feel like it could be a lot better. Especially with all the recent flops that have kind of came out. And it seems like gaming companies are experiencing, you know, the differences between it. They're like, oh, yeah, we can't kind of rush games. We can't be pushing ourselves too much to be doing this, that, and the third. We need to get into an ideology of doing this. This is something that we're good at. And we shouldn't let microtransactions or anything or the community rushing us. Which there are a few games that are coming out that aren't really doing that. It's more or less of kind of just, you know, hitting that point. I feel like it took too long. Fuck. Whoa. What the fuck? I have never seen that shit before. I had no idea that those motherfuckers can travel in packs. That shit is terrifying. Yeah, that's fucking scary. Alright, just gonna level these up real quick. But yeah, in regards to that, that's just kind of how I see it. At least for BRs and stuff. By all means, good potential in games, it's more or less of just, you know, some just needs to be a little bit more generic. Okay, so let's grab this. Yeah. By all means, if anyone has any more questions, I'd be more than happy to share my personal opinions. But yeah. But while I'm kind of just building this, like, I've noticed a lot, especially with life. Because, like, I've noticed so wholeheartedly that the chances of life or anything in life kind of happening is very slim. Like, the more I really think about it, the more I'm kind of acknowledged and aware of the situation. Like, as a lot of philosophers and stuff, because I like listening to that shit. I'm a nerd, I know, I don't care. Fight me. Like, a lot of philosophers and stuff have been brought it up. We live in something called a Goldilocks zone. There we go. Basically, we're in an area that's not too hot, not too cold. Just right. However, you know, we all go through cold seasons, we all go through warm seasons, all that extra jazz. But I don't think people understand the severity of how close we are. And this kind of goes back to my thing of everything is low, but the chances are never zero. Because when you really think about it, if we're an inch closer to the sun, the world will burn. If we're an inch farther than the sun, we'll freeze. We're literally within that range, you know? Like, we're within the range of, hey yo, if the Earth moves even a smidge, we basically all just go extinct. Which is insane to think about. Not necessarily something of, like, major, you know, you should be terrified, you should be scared, because it's gonna take way too long. But more or less of just, like, the thought of that is crazy. And the thought of we just had nothing, and it kind of just transformed into something is even crazier. Like, we all just people living in a world that's in a solar system, in a galaxy. Well, no. In a solar system that's in a galaxy that's in a universe. Now, by all means, there could be more than that, but that's all we really know at the moment. And as a result, we've kind of just had to attempt to make amends with what's going on. Like, wholeheartedly, if you really think about it, the chances of any of this shit happening are very low. Fuck. Yeah, the chances of any of this happening are very slim. And when I say very, I mean like immensely. Like, even say if humans didn't make it onto Earth. Like, say if we inhabited, I don't know, Venus or Mars. Like, our entire life would change. Our days and night cycles would be different. For all we know, we may not even understand the concept of time. We may not have even created time. Which is a crazy thought. And honestly, it's kind of terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. Just, like, knowing the concept of everything that's happened. And just kind of taking a moment to fully immerse into, like, what the fuck is going on is crazy. So, like, when it comes to stuff like life, I tend to kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say not take it with a grain of salt, because there's times where everyone does here and there, you know? But more or less of, like, just take a moment. Think about who you are as a collective. Think about what you've went through in life. And think about, what if blank happened, you know? Like, oh, what if this happened? What if that happened? Realistically, you wouldn't be able to fully immerse yourself into what's going on. You'd kind of just be like, huh, interesting. You know? You wouldn't necessarily be able to get a definitive, like, hey, yo, this happened. That's cool. It'd kind of give you a second to really think about where you're at in life, what's going on in life, and what are we doing? And I've also noticed that when it comes to, like, say me thinking, like, out loud, I've also kind of came to the realization of, like, hey, yo, yeah, this shit's going on, but why? Like, the more questions I try answering, like, yeah, the more questions I try answering, the more I realize I backtrack into that main question. So, like, wholeheartedly, say if someone is like, what's consciousness? Well, consciousness is something that we have. Okay, why do we have it? Because we have enough brain and intellect. There's other animals that have it too. It's not like we're the only ones, right? But then you run into the situation of, that's weird. Why do we have it? Or why do certain animals have it? Why not every animal? And then it kind of spirals into a whole thing of you attempting to understand something that can't be attempted to understand. It sounds very stupid saying out loud, I'm just realizing. But But like, if you genuinely like attempt to just think and take a moment to try, like, I wouldn't say basking in the glory, but more or less of like trying to realize all the shit that's going on. You realize, oh fuck, what is the purpose? What is the reason? Why are we here? What is consciousness? Why do we have why do us in particular have consciousness? What do we gain from this knowledge? What do we gain from the shit that we've learned? Will it get better? Will it get worse? Who knows? And keep in mind, like, the stuff that we kind of understand or attempt to learn isn't necessarily something that you just learn off the back of your head. Like, it's not something that's taught in school. Like, the concept of time is something that's taught in school. But realistically, like, why did we understand the concept? Like, why do we have the concept of time, you know? Like, why do we have the concept of time? What's going on? Why did we create this thing called time? And then you start slowly diving into a rabbit hole. That's like, fuck, I don't know what to do. What's going on? How do I resolve it? What do we do now? Something like that. A little bit of food for thought, if you may. Something to kind of think on, but not really think on, you know? By all means, I don't want people to be like, oh, my life is meaningless, and then just slowly start spiraling into an abyss. No. It's more or less of just like, take that into consideration. Not saying life is like hopeless or anything, but more or less of just like, the chances of us being here are very slim. Little than none at that. And the thought of that chance being something that impacts us so drastically is pretty major. Like, I'm not gonna go ahead and be like, what you think is wrong, you know? Just like the thought of it. The thought of everything that humanity has ever done. Since we created fire to now where we can stream. Stuff like that. It's pretty fucking major to think about. And it's not necessarily something you can glance over. You know, sooner or later, you're going to, like, really question. Like, what is this? Whether you're having, like, a bad day or something. Whether you're having a bad day, whether you're having a great, phenomenal day. You're always going to have that thought of, like, this is a little bit weird. This is a little bit intriguing. I'm thinking about life right now, but it's a little backwards. You know? Something like that is just kind of, I don't know. Trying to understand the world in its entirety is a feat that no one in the universe has ever managed to understand. And by no one, I mean us humans. Because for all we know, we don't know what's out there. Which leads me to my next point. We're one of the only, well, we're, from what we know at least, we're the only things, you know, living things out there. We don't know if there's aliens, or there's no confirmation of there being aliens or anything of the sort. But as I brought up, the odds are always low but never zero.
Holy shit. I'll try anything smart, and you'll get a new start.
So, like, realistically, you don't know what the fuck's going on. For all you know, there could be some crazy wild shit going on that's just out of our control. Something that we can't control, we can't manage. Things that are just, you know, out there, kind of just fucking crazy. And we'll never know solely due to the fact of, like, what's going on? What's the goal in life? You know? I just realized that I spent a shitload of money just now. Oh, wait. Fuck, I got robbed. It's just kind of an interesting thing that I wouldn't necessarily say intrigues me, but more or less of like, it's a really interesting thing to talk about. Life itself is just a whole can of worms that I would love to unravel sooner or later.
Be careful out there.
Like,
You
I'd
wouldn't
love to get
wanna
into,
get hurt.
like, I'd love to get inside of the nitty and gritty of it all, if I could get into the nitty and gritty of it all. Like, trying to understand the entirety of life, and like the concept and the construction of it all. That's a feat I don't think any individual is ever possible of learning. Or should learn at that. Life is all about mystery, you know? But like, at least having a relatively good concept, a relatively good idea, or a, you know, kind of a thought process on, oh shit, how does this work? Like, it's a lot to unravel, and it's a lot to unpack. But it's something that I think about almost 24/7. Like, I'm one of those people where, like, I'll space off into the distance and people will ask me, like, hey, yo, Chase, you good? And I'll be like, yeah, just thinking. Not thinking about life, not thinking about anything in particular. Just solely on, like, what's life? What's the reasoning? What's the concept? What do I gain from the information that I've learned in my life to now? You know? Just kind of a, yeah, that's a pretty decent way to explain it. You run into the familiarity of the unfamiliarity, where you don't know what exactly to do with life, but at the same time, life doesn't give you the answers that you so desperately need. Desperately, there you go. Desperately need. And by all means, I'd love to know the answers. I feel like anyone would. But like, you trying to decipher it by your own common knowledge is kind of like the best way to do it. Because then you come up with your own beliefs, your own ideologies, your own thoughts. And then slowly, sooner or later throughout life, as you get older or you really start thinking about the concept, you start kind of breaking it down and answering your questions that you have with other questions. And then sooner or later, you'll have so many questions where you just can't come up with an answer, and it just loops. Kind of like circle of life, if you may. Where eventually something's gonna happen to where it just loops around. Like, Lion King is a very prime example. The lions hunt the antelopes.
What do
Anything
you
that's
want?
left of the antelope gets put into the soil. Soil turns into grass. The grass for the new antelope to eat it, and the cycle repeats.
Take a look at the shit I got, but don't expect me to cook it for you.
So that's how you break the system. That's interesting. But yeah, it's just something like that. I guess I'm buying pipe bombs.
Thank you very much, and now you can go fuck yourself.
I don't know. I kind of, like, sooner or later after I think, personally, I kind of, like, put myself into a thing where it's like, fuck. Like, what do I do? Like, what else can I think about? And that's one of my favorite parts about it, because then I can let my mind truly roam, escape. Think about things that no other people really think about. And I feel like kind of explaining it on the internet while I'm streaming, or while I'm doing this and that, or just chatting in general. It's kind of a good way for me to do it, solely due to the fact of, like, I can't tell family. You know? Like, I've attempted to talk to my family about it, and, like, try seeing if there's a reasoning as of, like, why I think like this. Or, like, oh, what's going on? What's the case? What's the diagnosis? Why am I like this? And I'm gonna be completely honest. My family don't know what's wrong with me. I may actually just be insane. But hey, if that's the case, then that's the case. I'm fine with being completely insane. Because if this is what being insane is like, I don't care. I am entirely fine with it. Entirely fine with this. And I don't think I'd change it. Damn, scrap polymers they actually sell pretty decently. Let me just buy a shitload of wood spikes. I think I'll need like 20. But yeah. That's kind of just like... yeah, that's like the best way I could most likely explain it. Just me diving into me diving into like the questions that I have. It's like some people thinking about the concept of Bigfoot, Yeti, Loch Ness Monster, all that jazz. Obviously, I'm not going to slander people that do believe in it. Do I? A little bit, here and there. It's not necessarily my forte, but hey. I'm not going to slander someone because they believe in something when I basically do the same thing. I almost fell. You know? Oh, I need forged iron for that. Damn, that's expensive. Okay. That should be enough spikes for the time being. It's almost Fortnite, so I gotta prep. I need to get my Molotovs, I need to get my explosives. What I'm probably planning on doing is just chill, wait for it to turn daytime, wait for all the zombies to kind of slow down, and then... fuck it. Could make old mud tea. Never mind, that's too expensive. Well, it takes too much time. Baked potato is 50 seconds. Okay. Now let's grab this. We will grab a old sham sandwich. We will grab first aid bandages just in case. I am encumbered. We'll put away aloe vera. We'll keep our bullets. But yeah, like, I feel like there's a lot of questions in life that could be answered or that should be answered. It's more or less of just how you kind of ask it so that you don't ask yourself more questions. I personally believe that asking more questions is better. Just because, you know, you are always inside of that state of familiarity. Where it's like, yeah, this happens, and this happens. And it happens because of blah, 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 blah. You know, you kind of always have a landing ground for it. Plus, not to mention, you always using your brain and thinking is never a bad thing. I'm not going to say it's a shitty thing. But it's more or less of, like, you know, you kind of have an insight on what happens. And I can't build anymore. Fuck. Okay. Yeah, you're kind of in a state of like, I can think about this, and this. Ugh. And at the end of the day, I'll always, you know, have some form of information that I can learn from it. Or a different insight on it. Like, what I like to do personally, shout out to one of my favorite YouTubers, Aperture. Aperture's entire, like, channel consists of insight, religion, beliefs, ideologies, what's the meaning of life, what's the concept of time, basically just human history in general. Not necessarily the history aspect of it, but more or less of like why we do what we do, you know? To the point to where it's not a it happens because of this, but more or less of just like we do this, but then this happens. Or like he tries coming up with his own personal opinion or his own like personal beliefs using the information that he's learned from like YouTube, philosophers, Wikipedia, all that extra jazz. So there's always somewhat of a backup or a reasoning behind it. Like I think I was listening to him yesterday actually, and he was bringing up the concept of the world, which I love. I love space, as I said earlier, and everything. He basically, hold on. Oh, that's just the music. I thought it was counting down. But yeah. He was talking about like the world in its entirety and how we went from nothing to something in a mere matter of seconds. And how eventually, sooner or later, in trillions of quadrillions of years, everything's kind of just gonna go slowly but surely. This is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And he brought up the fact of it's intriguing how the world, or the way how we kind of perceive the world more or less, is in a state of we understand what will happen in the future and what goes on in the future, but we don't understand what happened in that fraction of a second that went from nothing to something. Like we know as humans, we all know that eventually it's going to turn out to be nothing again, but then sooner or later it's going to turn into something. Nobody's going to know what caused the nothing into something, and we'll never know what causes that nothing into something. By all means, if the universe resets, you'll be like, huh, interesting, intriguing. Maybe this is that and the third. Maybe we'll find out later after a reset. Do we know now? No. Will we know sooner or later? Probably not, I'm gonna be honest. Humans have a very interesting way, well, us as humans have a very interesting way of gathering information, whether it be we learn the hard way or we find some random shit out. And I find that very interesting and very like intriguing. Like I would love to learn more about it, you know? I'd love to understand the concept, what makes what happen, what makes us think the way how we think. Being a philosopher or just having those thoughts of thinking about it is such a huge thing to me. Because I'm one of the weird kids. I was one of those people that had chugged energy drinks, just thought and was like, that's pretty cool. I want to look into it. Even like when I was younger. Like the concept of dinosaurs, the evolution of people and stuff like that. Like me talking about it is getting me a little bit giddy. I wholeheartedly enjoy talking like this. Because, you know, it's something that I can't really talk about to like normal people. I wouldn't necessarily say normal people, more or less of like people that don't think the same way that I do. And this is a good way to kind of me vent out how I feel about specific topics without really venting to someone about it. I mean, obviously there's people that watch, but more or less of like, you know, maybe I'll get a response back. Maybe I'll get someone's personal beliefs. Think about it like that. Alright. It is almost the Horde. And as I said earlier, aloha people of YouTube. If you want to catch the full experience, you can always check the description. Follow me on the purple face, aka Twitch. But yeah. It's kind of just a cool way. Alright, Horde Night's about to begin. I got it ready. Let's see how bad this gets. Okay, I'm seeing a few. A pretty decent bit. I was not expecting it to turn out like this. Did you only stream 7 Days to Die? Hey, thanks Dan Mayer for the follow. No, I don't only stream 7 Days to Die. I do also stream a few more games. It's just, I wanted to play 7 Days to Die for a minute. It's more or less of, I just never really had the chance to kind of play it since the official release. So I'm kind of just winging it, if you may. Okay. I don't know if I'm still gonna get hunted down or not. Oh, did the Horde Knight just stop? I hope it didn't. So does it just stop now? I hope it doesn't. You know, I think I'm gonna try that My Hero Battle Royale. I wish you the best of luck. I know from personal experience it's kinda hectic to a degree. But that's just kind of how I've seen it. Because I've seen some pretty insane stuff. Yeah, so I think the Horde just stops. That's so weird. So once you die, the Horde Knight just ends. That's very interesting, actually. I don't like that at all. We did also find a horror game that is like Among Us that we should play. I'd be down to it. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, I haven't... This is like my first little playthrough of 7 Days, me streaming it at least. I played the beta a good bit ago, but I never really got into the actual release of it. So right now I'm just kind of experiencing, trying to play it. I'm just trying not to get into the habit of just streaming Valorant, because that's mainly just what I play. I play with a few friends and all that. I just like competitive. I like a handful of games. It's more or less of just like, I need to get out of that little niche. So yeah. Right now I just thought it'd be really good to kind of just, you know, stream 7 days, see what it's like on the 7th, because I tweaked the settings a small bit. And just, you know, talk, open up a little bit. I'm not that... I had an epiphany last night and I was like, oh, I could just stream and then just rant. I could just talk about dumb shit. Or the dumb shit that goes on in my head that makes other people think. If I have to suffer, y'all have to suffer with this too. That's just how it is. I'm not going to be the only person that has to deal with this. So. But, yeah. I'm very intrigued. What is going on here? Yeah, I'm... So, like, is the Horde over? I hope it's not. Kind of a waste. Keep in mind, it just started. That or that's like a bug or something.
I hope not. If not, I'll have to see what the fuck is going on again. Because normally with blood moons, as soon as you die, you kind of just like get ambushed by zombies. Yeah, that kind of fucking sucks. Probably have to look into it. See if it's a bug. If anything, I'll just probably have to replay the 7th day. If it is. It would also be kind of funny if all the zombies were just hiding away from my fucking eye, from my view. Damn. That kind of sucks. Yep. If there is a zombie in the distance, I may be able to shoot him. Also, I want to address that these aren't high thoughts. This is just genuinely how I think. Like, my thoughts on existence and life and stuff like that is just everywhere. It's just throughout the fucking walls. A podcast of thoughts would be fun, and a podcast is something that I have wanted to do. It's, I've had a few of my friends say, like, hey, we should do a podcast and stuff. The only shitty part about it is that nobody really thinks how I think, or at least on that topic. I have a few friends, but most of the time they're always really busy. But by all means, if there was a chance where I could, I would. Like, without a shadow of a doubt. Going on hour-long rants about just bullshit in situations like this, masterpiece. Especially if I can, like, get some responses or personal opinions and stuff on it. Crazy. Damn, I'm actually mildly upset. I spent literally a day doing this. That fucking sucks. Later today, you know what, here's a good question. Why is it when you start a game, they want to make you deaf? With how loud? Hey, some songs be cinema. Some songs be cinema. And you said you were playing My Hero, so I presume that My Hero theme kicked in. Some songs do be cinema, so as a result, they're trying to express it the best way that they can, you know? I'd do the same as well, but I wouldn't, you know, be blowing out eardrums and shit for it. Because, like, yeah. It's so damn loud. Yeah, but like, what's it called? I mean, there are some songs, especially video game songs, that do kind of slap and do kind of hit hard. Like, Kingdom Hearts. Can't go wrong with that. Honestly, if that shit was blasting in my fucking ears, I'd go deaf in the process. I'd sacrifice. I'm completely fine with speaking sign language. As long as I could sign, I became deaf because of Persona 5. Of Persona or Kingdom Hearts. I'm fine with that. Especially like anime intros. Like, I know that they won't, but like, say if they made a Dan game and the music just blasts in your eardrums, you finna see me. Like, I'm gonna be dancing. I'm gonna be vibing. You gonna see me in the background like a fucking idiot. Do I care? No. Why? Because the song fucking slaps. Alright. Well, it looks like this is how this Horde Night's gonna go. Kind of a bust, but it's cool. It's whatever. I did see a decent bit of zombies, though, so that's a plus. That means that me tweaking the files kind of works. So now, since that has happened, what I will probably do is try relocating. If I could relocate into an area that's better or more beneficial when it comes to loot, then I should be fine. Because there's loot stages. The higher the loot stage, the more loot you get. I want to be able to find an area that gives me the best, especially since this is all mine. So yeah. But back to the inner machinations of my mind. Yeah, but like, when it comes to just like the intricacies of life and how life has kind of been woven together, very weird, very difficult. I personally would like to try to come up with it on my own accord, and I'm very big on when it comes to like, I wouldn't say paranormal, but more or less of like anomalies, weird shit like that happening. Like, favorite cartoons, one of them is Gravity Falls. Like, the concept of it being a cartoon and there's just being a shitload of weird shit happening, masterpiece, phenomenal. I mean, I like regular show, Adventure Time, and all that extra jazz, but Gravity Falls holds a very special place in my heart. And funny enough, not a lot of people know about Gravity Falls, which sucks. It hurts my soul. Like, I could bring up a Gravity Falls reference or a Bill Cipher reference or something, and people would be like, huh? That shit hurts. It's like a jab to the heart. But, like, back to life topics and stuff. Like, the evolution of, like, how we got here from here, it's very weird. I know it's like, scientifically, we were monkeys. No racism. We were basically just apes, and then we slowly evolved. Like, yeah, that's the concept, but, like, what about other animals? Like, if you really think about it for animals speak, because I also really like animals and the understanding of animals, the fucking concept is all over the place. Like, there should be no reason why, I think it's an anteater or a tapir, one of the nose-looking, the small elephant things are connected to elephants when they're entirely different. Or, like, the concept of, like, mammals, reptiles, and all that. Like, I understand the concept of that in its entirety, but, like, the differentiaries, like, knowing the fact that there's mammals that fly, or there's mammals that swim, that just live in the ocean to just live in the ocean, is crazy. Like, an elephant and a whale being fucking connected, it don't make sense. Like, how do you go from you have no legs to legs, but some of them are like, nah, legs ain't for me, and then they grow tails, and then they just swim. Like, but yet they have lungs. Like, they need to be in the air. It's like, how? You just decided to handicap yourself? It's, you know, that don't seem like the best move, Chief. I'm sorry to say. Or kind of like the time frame of the world. Because, like, we all know before us there was dinos. Dinos became extinct and shit. Funny enough, not a lot of people may know this. Dinos had fur. Reptiles had fur. Food for thought. It's kind of weird. Why they had fur? I don't know. They're supposed to be cold-blooded. I don't know if it's to survive the winter or what. And also, the concept of dinos is fucking cool. Knowing the fact that there was reptiles back in the day that were just built like that, it's insane. Hence one of the reasons why one game I actually enjoy playing is Ark. It's a pain in the ass, but I like dinos. The TISM shows. But, like, Yeah, just like the evolutionary process of it all is such a weird thing. It's such a weird thing to bring up, such a weird thing to explain. It's just everywhere. Like knowing the fact of like, oh, this is just a harsh climate and environment. I'm gonna develop this. Or, you know, oh, my newborns are just going to develop this. Like frogs. Very wild fucking, like, segue. But frogs. Weird. How do you go from staying in water? Like, I know amphibians, obviously. But, like, you go from egg to something with gills, you develop lungs over time, and then you develop legs. They literally have the best of all worlds. Okay. That was kind of... That kind of sucked for Blood Moon. So, point of action. I cannot fucking die. Yeah. But, like... It's just weird. It's really weird. I would like to be able to fully explain, like, what the fuck goes on. Or how shit happens the way it happens. But it's... unsolvable, I guess you could say. Obviously, you can't build a time machine and be like, I'm gonna go back in time. I'm gonna go see how this shit... I want to see how an ant developed into, I don't know, a giant fucking bug or some shit. You know? And there's motherfuckers that are mowing lawns outside my apartment. Phenomenal. Great. I can't even hear myself think. But, like, I don't know. So many questions. So many questions that I would like to answer, but I know I will never get one. It would be phenomenal if I did, don't get me wrong. I would love an answer. Will I get one? Probably not. Would I love to try finding an answer so that I could feel satisfied? I'd be down for that. It could be the dumbest answer ever. Like, it could be like, it's because of the wind. And I'll be like, alright, I'm fine with that, you know? However, I would also be completely okay with just, it happens because it happens. I mean, I'm still going to try finding a reasoning for it, but... you know. At least use my old noggin, the noggin, to try coming up with something. Let me get this rabbit before you start trying to attack me. But yeah. I don't know. The world is kind of just like a very weird... Motherfucker. Get up. Get up. Box. I don't know. Just kind of like... I feel like the way how I think wholeheartedly, especially when it comes to stuff like that and like stuff like life, I know it's very weird and very out of the ordinary. Is it something that I should be proud of? Absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, my body. It's the way how I think. It's the way how I process. And I'm not saying processing like that is a bad thing. I just feel like it's very difficult to have or find people with similar ideologies. You know, like people with the same thought process of, you know, maybe you're onto something, but maybe this can happen, or maybe this can happen. You know? I want to be able to not necessarily have in-depth conversations, like 100% of the time, but more or less be able to, damn, but more or less be able to have conversations so that I feel like I'm not the only person thinking like this. Like, I know I'm not. Like, I know there's very smart and intelligent people that do. But, like, on the higher scale, or the higher end of things, like, I want to be able to say, like, but why? And I don't want someone getting pissed off and they're like, oh no. Like, you know, not even, like, as trying to be a smartass or anything. More or less, they're just like, maybe they'll think about it and be like, very good question. Maybe because of blah, 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 blah. Maybe because of this, maybe because of that, maybe because of the third. Shit, maybe, I don't know. That's one of the things about life that we just don't know about. Who knows? There is a lot of nice places over here that I need to check out. I need to be able to empty out big cities. And there's a police station. But yeah. Like, what's another thing? There was something that I thought there was something that I saw earlier. Or, not earlier, yesterday. And it was basically, like, understanding the concept of... Trying to understand the concept of, what was it? Like, love and stuff like that. Consciousness. Trying to understand the concept of that to its fullest is something that we'll never be able to fully understand. Like, that's going to be one of the things that we'll never get a full answer to. But you trying to possibly come up with an understanding for it, it's quite interesting. And it really lets your mind explore throughout, like, what to do, what's going on, would be, like, your best options or your best plan of action. Like, the questions that Mortal brought up with the whole, like, if you had one sentence to give an audience, what would it be? Or, you know, just asking simple gaming questions. Not only do you have your own opinion on the situation at hand, but you also have insight of someone else's. Which kind of just makes you think, like, that's a good way to see it. That's not bad. I could dive into it, think about what's going on, maybe make something work. Stuff like that. I may be doing, like, a lot more of these talks later when I fully understand. Or, like, you know, from time to time. I don't plan on doing it every day. Sometimes I'll probably just be playing with a group of friends, having fun. Other times I may just have simple little chit-chats like these. But, yeah. I don't know. Kind of voicing my personal opinions to the universe that is Twitch. Or YouTube, I guess, is kind of just like a pretty decent way to kind of have people open their eyes a little bit more to the situation. Not like trying to be like, the world's a lie, it's a simulation, you know? But more or less of like, why does this happen, you know? What's the reason? What's the reasoning that I take a step? Oh, I just remembered. So the conversation, well, not the conversation, the topic that is also a pretty confusing one, in my opinion, is the butterfly effect. Now, in case you don't know what the butterfly effect is, let me give you a little educational update. The butterfly effect is basically whenever you do something, and as a result, you know, other things can happen. It can result in many different outcomes. And, like, for instance, a flap of a butterfly's wings could cause a hurricane or a tornado in another place. Hence the reason for butterfly effect. Now, it's not the true reasoning for it, obviously. It's just hot and cold air mixing together. And they just don't like each other. Which is the scientific reason, but it's more or less of, like, kind of just things that you do throughout life always will have an outcome of sorts. It just depends on what it is. Or, like, paradoxes in general are just fucking massive. Paradoxes are also another thing that kind of makes my head go burr. Because some of the paradoxes kind of like counteract themselves, so it brings like a massive amount of confusion, which I'm all for. Like, confusing myself is like one of the biggest like downtimes. Because if I think hard enough, literally time flies by. But like, for the butterfly effect, it's kind of a situation of like, say if the multiverse does exist, or like say if there are multiple universes or multiple realities where this and the third happens. Depending on even the smallest meticulous things, shit can hit the fan. Like a perfect example. You wake up, you get dressed, you go to work, and then all of a sudden, bow, you stub your toe. You're gonna be in a lot of pain. Is it gonna suck? Very much so. But think about it like this. If you didn't stub your toe at that very second, or that very moment, for all you know, you could end up... Jesus fucking Christ, this map is huge. Yeah, for all you know, you could end up, I don't know, stubbing your toe, falling. Oh. Is this another Trader Rect?
Everything's for sale, even to an idiot like you.
Oh, that's actually very weird.
Let's get this over with.
Yeah, this is a completely different... What the fuck?
You don't buy something next time, I'll shoot you.
Yeah, that's very odd. Okay, so I just run into random Trader X. Yeah, but like with the butterfly effect, say if you didn't stub your toe at that very moment, if you didn't stop what you were doing, you could have possibly, I don't know, slipped on a marble or something, fallen, and then broke your neck or something. You know, something like that. Not necessarily something in the case where it has to be bad, but more or less other outcomes, which also correlate with decisions that you make. Like, even the choices and decisions that you make, it's like a decision-making game. Depending on what you do and how you do it depends on the outcome that happens later on. It could be something very small and very minuscule, like, oh, deciding on what you're gonna eat. Up to something like major, like, oh shit, this could be a life or death situation. Which no one wants to be a part of a life or death situation. It's more or less of that's one of the possibilities for life. You necessarily don't run into a case where, you know, you can prevent everything to happen. By all means, you can go back in time to prevent what happened, but keep in mind, even if you do to prevent it to get a better outcome, butterfly effect can occur. Where, because of you going back in time trying to reverse this, it could possibly cause an outspur of things. So basically, everything that happens or everything that you do is pretty much predetermined. Because if you make a small move or try fucking up your mistake, you have no idea what's going to happen. It's more like just of a cause-effect situation. Which, in my personal opinion, I kind of enjoy. I like the concept of, you know, life isn't predetermined. Well, yeah, life isn't predetermined. The outcomes that you make in life depend on the impact that you make. Hence what separates a lot of people. Like, perfect example. Me and Elon Musk. I'm not as smart as Elon Musk. Don't plan to be. But because of the choices that he's made in his life, he's made a name for himself. He's a fucking genius, I suppose. To some people. Other people, he's an idiot. But to each their own. He's smart, he has the IQ, it's there. It's more or less that some people just don't agree with his ideologies. Which is completely fine and completely understandable. It's more or less of like, you know, you only know what's going to happen. And you never know until it happens. Or another paradox that I actually kind of enjoy. Jesus Christ, I've been talking about this shit for almost 2 hours. Maybe I probably am crazy. But another thing is the grandfather effect. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the grandfather effect. Where basically, if you try doing something to impact your... There's another trader wreck. God damn, that's 3. I really need to start pinning these. Yeah.
Get
But like,
lost.
a perfect
My shop,
example
my rules.
is...
You follow, or you fuck off. Just get the fuck out of here.
Why are you so mean to me?
You break any of my shit, you're paying double. You
Nothing in
cheap
particular.
son of a bitch.
But, yeah. Like, with the grandfather effect, you run into a situation where if you try going back in time and changing something that's majorly impactful, especially something that involves your life, like, say if, you go back in time to prevent your birth, or, you know, prevent someone's birth that's correlated with you, like your grandfather or something. Hence the reason for the name Grandfather Paradox. If you manage to do that, technically you go ahead and try offing a very, you know, a relative, someone that has helped you get brought into the world. Because of that, realistically, do you succeed in your achievement, or do you prevent it because you had to create a time machine to go back? Then you run into a paradox of sorts. Or more or less, as I like to call it, a time loop. Where you're in the continuous process of you attempting to do that set objective, but then you're never going to be able to achieve it solely because, you know... Damn, I have traveled far. Yeah, but you never achieve that goal solely due to the fact of, you know, you technically were never born, you never existed. There's a few more that I know of, it's just I haven't really dabbled too far in there, so I kind of can't speak my personal opinions on those. There is one that I do know, not necessarily too much into. It's like called the Alien Paradox or something. Or the People Paradox, something of the sort. Basically where, if we're technically the only people to ever exist, like we're the only known people to ever exist or anything of the sort. Say if there was, like, aliens or another civilization throughout the universe, why haven't they attempted to contact us? Why haven't they tried reaching out? And to that, I've kind of came up with the conclusion, thanks to me listening to Aperture. Because basically... Ooh, I need this. I need boxing skills. I want to be able to do a boxing build. But essentially, because of how far universes and worlds are, since the only way that you could really gauge is by light speed, which is the fastest known measurement, you know? Anything traveling faster than the speed of light is basically just traveling in the dark. So you don't know where you're really going. So the fastest speed that you can go is the speed of light, not faster than the speed of light. But in regards to that, it's like, say if someone 43 light years was trying to contact us, they wouldn't be able to contact us until 43 years later, because it's just light years. That's how fast it takes light to travel. And depending on the situations at hand, you run into the offset of technology. Because by all means, either we could be excessively advanced, or we could be excessively behind. We could try contacting other alien life, and it could be the same situation. Where, say if we're trying to send signals 100 million light years, that's 100 million years. The only question is it going to be too far in the future, or is it going to be too far in the past? and you run into this situation of, oh shit, we're basically in our own we're basically in our own time zone. That's the best way that I can explain it. You run into a situation where you're stuck in your own time zone and you kind of can't escape it. You can, but who knows? Kind of like when it comes to streaming or anything like that. By all means, I can go ahead and stream at midnight. For other people, it won't be considered midnight, though. It could be the afternoon. It could be 3 o'clock in the morning. For all I know, it could be like in the afternoon when people are working. Could I know? I could. I just have to do the research for it. Memorize all the times, memorize all the extra shit. But yeah, stuff like that. Which, I mean, isn't bad, don't get me wrong. It's always good to have that type of information. Where the fuck did you just come from, my guy? But more or less of like a, hey yo, maybe I need to see what happens and see where it goes. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Which is similar for a lot of other places where we're trying to get messages out and do all this extra jazz. But because of us being light years away, because of the universe and the Earth being so vast, the Earth and the universe and our solar system being so vast, we can't necessarily dial it down to the most minute detail. Because there's no way for us to realistically be like, we can just magically travel faster than the speed of light. Let's do this, you know? I am about to get fucked over. But yeah, it's kind of like just one of those situations. This map is fucking huge. I am tired of seeing burnt forest and shit. Please give me something else. I have traveled for like 11 hours. But yeah, kind of just of a food for thought type situation. Kind of just like a quick little way of how I think and how I kind of process it. Sooner or later, I'll drive one of y'all insane. Or like, what's another topic? Here's one. A little bit on a touchy situation or a touchy top. Oh, I see them. Okay, I see the tundra and I see the desert. I'm at the desert now. And the tundra is actually really close. You know, it only took me fucking 416,000 years ago. But, yeah. In regards to something like death, death is obviously a pretty difficult and it's a pretty hard thing to fully grasp. It's not something anybody really likes talking about. It's not something anyone really likes to bring up. But it's one of those things where it's bound to happen. With life comes death. A lot of people can't come to that understanding, but it is what it is. Don't you fucking do it. Don't you fucking do it. Yeah. But it's one of those situations where, like, you know, it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen to everyone. It's bound to happen to everything. Anything that exists, sooner or later, has to kick the bucket. And to be honest, that's kind of just the sad reality of it. Nobody likes hearing it, no one likes knowing about it, but it happens. No one knows how it's going to happen, no one's going to know why it happens. It's just sooner or later, everything does come to an end. how you handle the situation is completely up to you and it's completely up to your design. However, but what a lot of people don't really like diving into is a few concepts of it in general. Like, perfect example. I know there's a lot of people that, you know, have had loss, extra stuff like that. I have as well. And it's not something you can kind of just brush off and call it a day. Why it happens? No one knows. People are upset because, you know, they're upset that it happens to them, which is completely fair. By all means, it's not fair. As I said, it's one of those things where you kind of can't brush it off. It just happens to happen at that point. What are these fucking structures? Sports bag with a cooking pot is kind of weird. And there's a lumberjack. That's terrifying. But like, all in all, when you think about it, it's not too bad of a situation. Because, like, you know, that means that they've lived their life. People don't like hearing the fact that, oh, you know, they've lived their life, it's time for them to pass. No one really knows what happens afterwards. No one really knows what happens after the fact. Obviously, when it comes to religion, it kind of ties over to what you personally believe in, which isn't bad. It's just more or less of one of those things where no one knows what happens. And no one's really came back to fully explain what happens. Would I like to know what happens? Absolutely. It would be one of those cool things. By all means, I would love to hear about what happens. That's a mountain lion. I would rather deal with lumberjacks than deal with mountain lions. At least I can outrun zombies. I don't think I can outrun a mountain lion. But, yeah. It's one of those things where it kind of just happens and it's nothing you could really avoid. No one knows where you go. No one knows what happens. It kind of just happens to happen. Why is everything green? I do not like the look of this, and this is kind of scaring me. What the fuck? I'm at the end of the world. So what, there's just hardly any fucking tundra? I would like to be here in the tundra. So that's the corner of the... What the fuck? That's another mountain lion. I hope he didn't see me. I do not think he did. I would hope he does not. Because I will die. I don't want to do that. Is there a trader or anything in particular over here? A safe haven of sorts? Anything? Okay, the mountain lion's not chasing me. There is a coyote, though. But yeah. By all means, I can go on and on about, like, the concept of life and just what happens because it happens. And as I said, I would love to find out. I would love to have a valid reason, and I would love to be able to fully explain the concept and not just have some form of half-ass answer. There is water? What the fuck? I guess that makes sense. Map loadout here is weird. But, yeah. It would be nice if I can get a full understanding of, like, what the world has to entail. Or the answers of the universe. However, I do feel like it'd be in its best interest to kind of keep it under wraps, not necessarily tell everyone. I don't think some people in particular want to be like, oh, I know the answers to the universe. It's blah, 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 blah. There's a fucking coyote right there. But yeah. Another thing is... I'd rather deal with the coyote than the bear. I'd rather deal with the coyote than the bear. Them bears be tanky. I am Gucci on that. Put me up against a coyote any day of the fucking week. I'm not going up against a damn bear. That was fucking terrifying. But like, another thing is like situations throughout the world that are very low but not zero, because as I brought up earlier, the chances of anything happening are low but never zero, and that goes for anything. By all means, I could literally stand up and a coconut can fly through the fucking sky. Chances are low but never zero. There was a snake. I'm not afraid of the snakes. I'm afraid of the vultures and the bears and the animals and the coyotes. Not necessarily of the coyotes, but it's just kind of a thing where, oh, are these mixed they are mixed terrains. That's interesting. Yeah, but what's it called? Like, the chances of things happening are very low but never zero, such as like things like a zombie apocalypse. Such as this. A lot of people, guys in particular, are like, I hope for a zombie apocalypse. I could survive. I'd love to experience it. By all means, if you want to, that's on you. I'm not gonna shy your idea. I wouldn't mind. I feel like I could survive for a little bit. But like at the same exact time, you have to run into a lot of the situations that I'm currently dealing with right now. Transportation, ammo, food, consumption, other stuff like that, you know? Like the chances of stuff happening like that, or like an apocalypse or anything of the sort. There's a singular tree. What the fuck? And there's a little house. However, that's a boss house. Yeah. But like you run into a situation where you want something like that, even though, you know, it could happen. I mean, there's been a lot of instances throughout the world where something like that, or something close to it at that, has been very close to happening. Like, for instance, people thought COVID was, you know, the apocalypse. And by all means, I thought it was about to be the end as well. I mean, shit. We had motherfuckers yelling and screaming over toilet paper, for Christ's sakes. Like, come on now. That's a little much. What is this? Okay, so it seems like this isn't gonna work. Gotta explore more of the map. It's kind of upsetting. Coyote, do not press me. I have a shotgun with your name on it, dog. I have a shotgun and like 12 bullets. Please don't. But yeah. Like, almost anything that you could really think of happening could happen. It's more or less of just the chances of it happening are very, very slim. Something have greater odds, like you winning the lottery. I feel like you have a higher chance of winning the lottery than, you know, a zombie apocalypse. But still, the thought of that chance being there is, I wouldn't say terrifying, but more or less just concerning. Like, there should be no reason why I have, you know, a chance to win the lottery every day, but then one magical fucking day could be like, oh shit, the end of the world. You know, it's fucking wild. And then with everything kind of just going on throughout the world, with COVID happening, extra stuff like that, I feel like the chances of something like that happening could be higher. Do I want them to be higher? Not really, but like, hey, we can't pick our struggles to that type of degree, you know? It's more or less of just something that we kind of gotta deal with. We can only pick so many struggles. Alright, I'm going to attempt to make it back home. Hopefully. That is a pretty far trek, though. Oh, wait. That's not too bad, actually. I could most definitely make it home. Could I make it before 22? Maybe not. I am a little hungry, though. Why does this man eat one egg at a time? It's an egg. Inhale your food, my guy. This is a zombie apocalypse. We don't have time to be tasting. But like, yeah. Like, is there a chance that we could see aliens? Is there a chance that, you know, the world can come to an end? Is there a chance that, you know, we can achieve world peace? Any of that stuff. By the way, I'm just spitballing. But like, still, there's never really a 0% chance at anything. And you'll notice that a lot from doctors. Like, a lot of doctors say if they're doing like very important surgeries to save your life, they'll always bring up a percentage, but they'll never bring up like it's a 0% chance. Kind of like you being like in a coma, for instance. There's been a lot of cases where people are in comas and like 15, 20-ish years later, if not longer, some of them are still here. Some of them wake up. Others, it takes them a little bit more longer to cook, but hey, it is what it is. Some people just keep cooking. Which ain't bad. Just like in general. Like, just knowing the fact that the chances are there, but aren't, kind of terrifies me. Jesus fucking Christ, I've been talking my ass off. But like, the chances of stuff happening kind of terrifies me, because you run into a situation where you feel like you can't do anything and you feel kind of hopeless in the situation, which is where the existence and living life thing comes into play, as Mortal Sin was bringing up. Lucky looter, find more medical supplies. You have unlocked armor? Oh, I unlocked the armors. This is traitor. Nope. I thought that was a traitor. No, it's not. That's the mausoleum. I feel like I need to get better weapons and stuff. If I can get like a motorcycle or something, that'd be kind of good. I just don't know if I'll have to craft it or... So my loot stage here is pretty high. Yeah, it's 34. And that's only with half a skull. So it basically just doubled it. Or like, the concept of love. The concept of love is a very weird thing. It's a very odd and very strange thing, but I feel like, personally, it's not bad. Because you run into one of those situations where, you know, you're physically attracted to someone, or mentally attracted, or whatever the fuck. And you want to spend your life with them, which there's nothing wrong with it. It's more or less of the way how love works, which is really difficult. Because for some people, you can obviously be in a relationship, you could be happy, and the next thing you know, you just fall out of love the next day. Or there's one magical day where you just fall out of love. You don't feel like it's right. And there was an episode of Rick and Morty, I think it was, that really explained it. If I remember correctly, the episode consisted of Rick making a robot version of his wife, his old wife, and he basically was like spending a lot of time distancing himself from Morty. They weren't going on adventures as much and any of that. And when Morty kind of lost hope for it all, he went to advice for... Well, not necessarily he went to advice, it was more or less advice was brought up to him. And they were bringing up the fact of like, oh, love is one of those things that will always hurt eventually. Knowing the fact that humans go through pain like that is very difficult because you don't know how it's gonna end. For all you know, you guys can live life together happy, you can feel fulfilled. But then obviously you run into the same concept of if something happens, or something really doesn't work out, then shit, what do I do? Like, I'm out of options, I'm out of hope. And being hurt fucking sucks. From personal experience, I know it sucks. It's not necessarily the best feeling, and it's terrible. I don't wish that type of pain on anyone. But it happens in life, which sucks. But you kind of, when it comes to something like love, it's one of those things where, as they put it in Rick and Morty, one of the best things that you can do is die at the exact same time, or cease to exist at the exact same time. Is it the best option? Definitely not. I don't think anybody wants to experience some shit like that. But you don't have to deal with the pain and suffering of it after. You don't have to experience how it is, what it's like, any of that. But yeah, that's enough of Chase talking about life and shit like that, because it's been, what, 2-3... yeah, 2-ish hours. But yeah. Welcome to my TED Talk. I hope you guys enjoyed. But, yeah. Right now I'm just trying to head back home. I may not be able to make it home on time. By the looks of it, it seems like I'm covering some distance. I've covered a decent bit. Because I am just trying to find the quickest way to get home. But it seems like it's not working. So I want to try seeing if I could hustle home. But it seems like that may not be an option. I only have 2 minutes. Do I have any? Yes, I do actually. I may actually be able to make it home. I know I said I probably won't, but... I'm in the burnt forest. I'm in the pine forest now, so... Plus, I'm a pretty decent distance. I just have to cross and then I'm home. So I got like 2 minutes left. So after that, I may do that. Take a wee bitty break. Probably. Huh. Fuck, I'm tired. I may play some Valorant. I may solo queue actually. That or I may play with a friend. I'll probably just have to end the stream and then reopen another one or something. But yeah, that's kind of just the inner machinations of my mind inside of this box, as Patrick said. But yeah, my kind of oversight on the entire thing is, I wouldn't necessarily say it's cloudy. It's more or less of one of those things where it's reasonable to a degree. I'm not going to say everything that I said is like factual or anything, or like it makes sense. You're just too dumb to understand. No. Like, obviously I have my own personal opinions and I have my own concepts, and I'm not going to slander anybody for thinking otherwise. By all means, it's an opinion for a reason. That's kind of the entire point of opinions. Someone just voicing how they feel, how, you know, the situation at hand. Some people may agree with it, some people may not. Some people may agree to an extent, some people may disagree to an extent, and that's perfectly fine. It's just more or less of, I feel like talking about it during stream, one, clears up kind of the dead air that I get most of the time when I'm playing games like this, or survival games like this, and other times it, you know, someone may be having like, oh, a rough day or a rough patch or something like that, and they don't understand how to deal with it or handle it. Some people may have understandings for it, and some people may just, you know, understand the entirety of it or the concept of it. Kind of picking up the advice that I'm putting down. If I am putting, you know, putting down any advice, there you go. I am illiterate. So. But yeah. I just hope nobody really takes it to heart or takes offense to anything that I say. It's more or less of just me speaking my mind. The world and the universe are very weird and complicated things. Whether it be quick little shower thoughts, like the whole how do, you know, moats have water in them, like earlier when I tried finding that question. Or something as complex as like, hey yo, why does the earth spin? Or what's the point of the universe? What's the point of me existing? My job isn't necessarily to give an answer, it's more or less just to have my own opinion on it. I plan on doing more of these sooner or later. When? Well, soon. Yeah, just soon. Say if there's ever like a time where I'm feeling like it's just right to bring it up or anything like that. Which there's never really a right moment. It's more or less of just if I'm feeling like it or not. I am actually getting really close. Come on, fuck. Okay. I will not be able to go up through there. That's gonna stall me a minute. But yeah. Also, to the people that are watching on YouTube, as I said earlier, aloha. If you want to get the full experience, you can always follow me on Twitch. I linked it down in the description so you can take a look at it. You ain't got to. It's more or less of just, you know, in case you want to. I am under the fucking clock. I should be able to make it. The town is close. I didn't realize there was a rock in front of me. My bike's about to break too. I don't know what happens when my bike breaks. I don't know if it's gonna explode or what, but I would prefer not to find out. You know, besides the whole zombie apocalypse, this is not a bad survival game. you know, if you could just push the past the zombie fight. Okay, so let's do a roundup before I make it back home, because I'm right there. I got a few magazines. I can now craft armor, which is a huge plus. I just need to find out what I need to craft them. The horde base didn't work, so I gotta tweak it a small bit. I either need to make it so that they can't come in, or make it so that they just keep falling. I explored a pretty decent chunk. I explored north, so I may explore south sooner or later. I also need to... what's it called? I also have a few books I could sell. And speaking on that, I am thirsty. So let's drink this mineral. Alright, so let's see. Knocked out a few challenges. That's not bad. From various sources. Streetlights, vending machines. Some vending machines have an anti-tampering feature. Destroy generators with any salvage item. My character's doing okay. I got no skill points because I died. I can make level 4 knuckle wraps. Repair tools, salvage tools. I can't make that wrench, I just need the metal parts. Explosives, nothing yet. Vehicles, bicycle on wheels. I need to get 3 more workstation books to get the workbench. I can almost make bacon and eggs, which is kind of a plus. Let's see, armor. I do have everything unlocked for armor, so I can find out what I need to make it. I'll probably need it to use. Actually, I need a workstation for that. Oh, it's just leather and an armor crafting kit. That's literally all it up. Cloth fragments, leather, cloth fragments, okay. So depending on what it is, I either need leather, that workbench is gonna be major though. If anything, what I'll probably just do is just knock out a shitload of quests, see if I can hopefully come up with something good. Maybe come across a workbench or something. Or a car. If I could save enough to get a car, goated. Because then I won't need to craft one. I'll just have it. Because I don't really have the storage on my bike to be traveling left and right. I gotta travel like bit by bit, which is gonna take a lot of time. Alright. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the 7-day stream. I know it's kind of short, but I'm probably going to play something else, so just give me a minute, and then I'll stream again. Give me like 30 max. So yeah, hope you guys did enjoy. Hope you guys enjoyed my little rant. It's not bad, it's just how I think. For everyone on YouTube, hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you can hit me with a sub, or you can follow me on Twitch. If you guys did enjoy, you could also follow me on Twitch. And yeah, that's basically just about it. Today's probably just going to be a chill day. I may play Valo, so it may be chill to a degree. Probably try ranking up or something. Pick up a new agent. Something of the sort. Kind of trying to branch out. Sooner or later, I will be playing a few new games. As I said a few streams ago, in Halloween to the 4th, there's going to be a beta for Monster Hunter Wilds. I'm going to be playing that, and you guys are going to have to deal with it. There's a few more games that I have planned. My schedule's getting tweaked a little bit at work, so I may be not streaming as much, maybe once a week. If anything, I'm probably gonna have a schedule to where I primarily stream on Tuesdays, and just kind of expand from there depending on how everything goes. So yeah, I'm trying to make it work slowly but surely, slowly, very very. But yeah, my character is starving yet again. But yeah, as I said, hope you guys did enjoy. I'll catch you guys in a little bit if you guys are gonna hop back on. And yeah, later, later.
Welcome, subjects, to the ritual of deceit. A deadly game of deduction, deception, and disruption. Only one team will emerge victorious. The innocent team must uncover the true intentions of the others, rooting out the infected and the cursed through banishing votes. They will want to collect souls to obtain helpful items from the peddler, and eventually, the escape key for the doors to exit the ritual site. However, the infected team will work tirelessly to eliminate all other subjects. When the opportunity arises, they will activate blood altars to bolster their strength. Periodically, reality will fracture, thrusting all subjects into the in-between. Here, the infected can transform into their terror form to execute all other subjects. Can the innocent escape, or will the infected take over? Then
Yo,
Yo, what it do?
what's up?
Not much. Just got done streaming for the time being. As you saw, I just kind of did a chill stream, talking about my insanity.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Insanity is crazy.
No, insanity. It's very difficult for people to understand what goes on through my cranium. So I was like, fuck it, why not talk about it?
Honestly, I don't know how